All right. There's our quiz. Reading. Good evening, and we'll begin with prayer. Dear Lord God, we ask for your blessing again tonight as we continue our study in the book of Revelation. As we see these symbols of the end, remind us of your ultimate victory over sin and death and the devil on our behalf. Continue to feed us and strengthen us and grant us that confidence and faith. As we look at your word, we ask it in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, tonight we are picking up with Revelation chapter 15, and we're going to look at 15 and 16 as the goal. Just 8 verses in chapter 15, and then through chapter 16. So we will begin with the 7 angels in the 7 plagues, chapter 15, verses 1 through 8. So, I don't know, maybe 1 to 4, somebody want to take that? 15, 1 to 4. Nicole, and then 5 through 8. Somebody else want to take that? Mike, you want to take that? All right.
I saw in heaven another great and marvelous sign, 7 angels with the 7 last plagues, last because with them God's wrath is completed. And I saw what looked like a sea of glass mixed with fire, and standing beside the sea, those who had been victorious over the beast and his image, and over the number of his name. They have hearts given them by God, and sang a song of Moses, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb. Great and marvelous are your deeds, Lord God Almighty. Just and true are your ways, King of the ages, who will not fear you alone, and bring glory to your name. For you alone are holy. All nations will come and worship before you, for your righteous acts have been revealed.
Thank you. And Mike?
After this I looked, and in heaven the temple that is set in heaven infested with the out of the temple came 7 angels with the 7 plagues. They were dressed in clean, shining linen and wore golden sashes around their chests. Then one of the 4 living creatures gave to the 7 angels 7 golden bowls filled with lids forever and ever. The temple was filled with smoke from the glory of God and from his power, and no one could enter the temple until the 7 plagues of the 7 angels were completed.
Okay, thank you. We got that word up tonight. Does that mean anything to you? That word Armageddon. Yes, no, what? End of the world? Rapture? Other thoughts with that, Larry?
The judgment.
Okay.
In the days. In different terms.
Yeah, so it brings to mind all that kind of stuff at the end. Anything else, Armageddon? Sometimes like war, people talk about, Armageddon is like the worst of the wars and stuff like that. Today, we're going to get into chapter 16 as well, but we have these visions at the end. What's it going to be like at the end? And the word is used in chapter 16. And we're going to see what Armageddon is and what comfort we can take. I think it's used, mostly in a bad sense, but for us, for believers, even in a good sense. So here you've got the rider on the white horse and all those with him, and here is the battle of good and evil that is portrayed there in Armageddon. So let's look at the 7 angels and the 7 plagues. You have it on your sheet. What event do the 7 plagues announce?
The wrath of God.
The wrath of God? Yeah. God's wrath being poured out, Judgment Day. The completion of God's wrath it talks about. So these things are going to need to take place. The 7 plagues announce the final judgment is taking place. So that's the 7 angels and the 7 plagues. And again, the number 7, it's repeated again and again. That picture of 7s throughout Revelation. So God's interaction with people, 4 and 3, 4 the number of mankind, 3 the number of God, and how God relates to mankind. So all of the New Testament period is what we're looking at. Announce the final judgment. Why is it fitting that the saints will sing the song of Moses and the song of the Lamb at the final judgment? Why is it fitting that the saints will sing the song of Moses and the song of the Lamb at the final judgment? What was the song of Moses? Exodus 15?
Would you like me to go there?
Sure, we've got time. We're early in class. Song of Moses, or at least tell us what was the setting of the Song of Moses.
Red Sea, parting of Egypt.
Okay, yeah, God's deliverance through the Red Sea, and they pass through, and Moses gives this song dedicated to God. So why is it fitting that the saints will sing the song of Moses and the song of the Lamb at the final judgment? I think ultimately, how are those two kind of related? The song of Moses and the song of the Lamb. Thoughts on that?
They're both pictures of salvation
Good.
and rescue from slavery.
Yeah, so the children of Israel were trapped. They had a much more powerful force after them. And they were pinned up against the Red Sea, and without God's deliverance, what would have happened? They would have been stuck. They would have been slaughtered. But what did God do? God delivered, and Moses sang that song. Brenda, you want to pick up a sheet? And the same with us, of course. Picture of God's final deliverance, right? That after everything that we might possibly go through, after some of the spiritual battles we talked about in the previous chapters too, what happens at the end? God's final deliverance of his people. Good. Anything else on that? I've got a couple notes. As Moses sang in response to God's miraculous deliverance from Egypt, we will sing a song of thanks to the Lamb for his supernatural deliverance of the saints. So what we were saying, the miraculous deliverance out of Egypt and God's miraculous supernatural deliverance of the saints. There is a prophecy that talked about how believers would sing the song of Moses one day, and that's from the book of Hosea chapter 2, where it says, There I will give her back her vineyards, and will make the valley of Achor a door of hope. There she will sing as in the days of her youth, as in the day she came up out of Egypt. So Hosea was written a good 700-800 years after the events of Moses and the Song of Moses, and here was a prophecy for the people that they were going to sing that song again. Pastor Brown, get your hand up.
Is it when Moses was singing that song, when people were looking at God's judgment on the Egyptians, and in these chapters, is that the idea there too? Is God's people those who were those who held the harp and who had been victorious? These chapters are us as God's people looking at his judgment on his enemies. You can say that or not?
Yes, and that's a big debate in chapter 16 when we get to the bowls. Not a big debate, but some people disagree about the first 5 bowls. Is it something that just relates to unbelievers, or is it something that believers also go through? And you've got good commentators, good scripturally based commentators who divide on that. And I wasn't going to make a big deal of it tonight, but sorry. But what you say is true. I mean, ultimately, whether we go through earthly tribulation or not, God's final deliverance is something we will experience. And we know, earlier chapters talked about how, when God is casting down plagues upon the earth, punishment upon the earth, sometimes believers get caught up in that too. Some of the scary stuff that happens, but the final picture.
Yeah, I guess, you know, I'm not sure.
But yes, deliverance of God's people, but spiritually, doesn't happen on earth
Yeah, you know,
necessarily.
No, I guess I was thinking more of, you know, that picture of the believers in heaven who see, and these are those who've overcome the number of his name, you know, so these, and they seem to witness this as they see God bring his perfect justice against his enemies. And so as they, you know, and again, what do people in heaven see, or what are they aware of as far as what's going on in this world? Or I mean, they see what God wants them to see, but they always understand his perfect justice. And I guess for us too, that's the comfort that right now we can't say this is God's judgment against somebody or God's wrath, but we know God is perfectly administering his justice. And when we get to heaven, then we'll see it in the sense of we'll understand.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about, there's even a closer point we can make in chapter 16. When we talk about what was the setting, I think that's the next thing here. It's tough to see, but playing a harp, here's what was described. Okay, that's the glassy sea, but on the edge, again, it's a little hard to see the resolution. What's at the edge? Oh, you can see over there. Yeah. There's the fire. So what's the significance of that? How can you have a sea that looks placid, but at the same time, it's also on fire? Yeah, it's God, that's what he wants. But again, all this symbolism, what might be the symbolism here of this? Well, there's the answer. Glassy sea mixed with fire. Glassy sea seems peaceful, tranquility, right? Fire, not so much. Conflict. So maybe even in the midst of conflict, even in death, Christians have peace and a reason to sing God's praises. Maybe that's a little bit what Pastor Rob was talking about. We still have the fire, right? There's still conflict, but the glassy sea reminds us of the peace that we have. Good. Anything through the end of chapter 15? That's it. Do you have any other questions? It's a relatively short first piece there. Here's a quote from another commentary. It says this about the glassy sea mixed with fire. It says this: it's a reminder of the horrifying warfare with its suffering that the people of God on earth are experiencing. The fiery red reflection of the sea symbolizes the suffering that confronts all Christians. But in this terrifying conflict, though they are conquered by the beast and its image, through death and martyrdom, they come out of the struggle victorious, just as their Lord did on their behalf. Throughout the whole time period of suffering, from Christ's ascension up to the end of his return, the church exhibits this victorious faith by confidently singing the hymn of salvation, even as she goes into death. So that was a commentary of one person. So we've got the struggle, the conflict, the fire, but also the peace through Christ. And we have hope. Anything else on Revelation 15? That might be the shortest amount of time we spent on any chapter. So, good. Let's get into Revelation 16 then. We will look at verses 1 through 11. Again, let's break it up into a couple pieces. We got the first 5 bowls of God's wrath. How about? Well, we'll take 1 through. We'll take 1 to 7. Who wants to take 1 to 7? Dick is going to take that, and then 8 through 11. 8 through 11. Who wants to take that? Pastor Brown? All right. Go ahead, Dick.
Okay. Then I heard a loud voice in the temple saying to the 7 angels, "Go pour out the 7 bowls of God's wrath on the earth." The first angel went and poured out his bowl out of the lamp, and ugly and painful sores broke out on the people who had the mark of the beast and the worship his image. The second angel poured out his bowl on the sea, and it turned into blood like that of a dead man, and everything living in the sea died. The third angel poured out his bowl on the rivers and springs of water, and they became blood. Then I heard the angel in charge of the water say, "You are just in these judgments. You who are and who were the Holy One, because you have so judged, for they have shed the blood of your saints and prophets, and you have given them blood to drink as they deserve." And I heard the altar respond, "Yes, Lord God Almighty, true and just are your judgments."
The fourth angel poured out his bowl on the sun. The sun was given power to scorch people with fire. They were seared by the intense heat, and they cursed the name of God, who had control over these plagues. They refused to repent and glorify him. The fifth angel poured out his bowl on the throne of the beast, and his kingdom was plunged into darkness. Men gnawed their tongues in agony and cursed the God of heaven because of their pains and their sores, but they refused to repent of what they had done.
Yes, good, thank you. Okay, anything ring a bell? Please read through that.
And the first play tells about my death.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, the boils and the sores and all that. Yes, that's a good observation. How about anything that we've looked at already? Yeah, it goes back to the seven trumpets, are very, very similar. And we had that at the beginning, kind of the middle of chapter 8, getting into chapter 9, was the seven trumpets. And here we've got the seven bowls, same kind of setting. So you've got the seven angels, and they blew the trumpets, and all this kind of stuff happened. They're not exactly the same, but we're going to look at it very similar as we go through them. So here's the first 5 bowls. We're not going to divide into groups, but we are going to work through what we just read. It's similar to the vision of the seven trumpets, like we said. They both point to things that will happen as the end draws near. So let's describe what the various bowls of wrath brought about and whom they affected. But before we do that, just a real quick reminder of those 7 trumpets. So we have them in 8, 9, and 11. First of all was hail and fire. It was mixed with blood. And where is that?
Over to the left, maybe.
Okay. We got the mountain ablaze thrown into the sea. So right here, it's plunged into the sea. The third trumpet was a star, which also affected the fresh water. So here's the sea, here's fresh water. Fourth trumpet of the moon was going dark, so that's the fourth trumpet. The fifth trumpet, remember, was the big bugs, crazy bugs. Scary, so that's these guys, and after the bugs came the 200 million mounted troops that were released, killing a third of mankind. And the seventh was Judgment Day itself. The ark was revealed in thunder, earthquake, hail, Judgment Day. So that's just the 7 trumpets. We went through that already. Nicole.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The thing with the 7 trumpets and with the 7 bowls, did they happen simultaneously, or was it a total of 14 things that happened?
No.
Or is this a different vision, a different style of looking at it?
Yeah, it's the same picture, kind of. Go back
You know, the
to
things a little bit different?
lesson 1, and when we had that picture of the soccer goal being scored from all these different angles,
Yeah.
that's what this is. Yeah, so the trumpets were one angle, and now we're going to look at the bowls kind of from another angle. But it's really talking about the same thing. Very good. Good? So let's start working through it. Describe what the various bowls of wrath brought about and whom they affected. So, to start with, the first bowl.
Devil.
Okay, sores. Sores on those who worship the beast. And maybe Nicole, another thing I just thought of that I read somewhere was back to your question. There are a lot of double visions in the Bible. Like you think of Joseph in his dream. God gave him 2 different dreams that talked about the fact that they were going to have 7 years of plenty and 7 years
One
of
of
famine.
the great in his house.
Yeah, same thing. But so there's maybe another example. Okay.
And that Joseph said, because God has firmly decided this. You know, that this is that repetition indicates this is going to happen.
Yeah. So for us, double vision is not good. But with God, a double vision is a good thing. Yeah. Reiterates, same thing. Okay, so the first wall we said was the sores on those who worship the beast. So the painful boils that afflicts those who worship the beast. What do we mean by the beast? Let's review that real quickly.
Oh, the devil.
Well, if we go back to the picture of the most recent picture we had of the devil, he was not a beast. What was he?
Fine.
Not that. He was a dragon. Okay. And along with the dragon were 2 beasts. There was the beast out of the sea, and there was the beast out of the earth. So we kind of have 2 options. And the 2 options for the beast of the sea and the beast out of the earth, the first one was anti-Christian government, right? Or government working in a way against God's people. The second one was basically false prophets, false teaching. Essentially, what is any religion without Christ? True. But what is your, how are you going to be saved if you don't have Christ? Any other religion, you remove Christ, you end up with
Works-based.
works-based. So we can say right, you have to do it, it's on you. Because Jesus is not doing it for you, you don't have a Savior, so you have to do enough. You have to give enough, you have to pray enough, you have to be holy enough, righteous enough, you have to keep working up the ladder and become better and better and better. Finally, that's every religion without Christ, in some way or another. You have to do good and you have to earn it because it's on you. So, that other beast then, we could say, it's false prophet, false teaching, right, but ultimately, you remove Christ, and it's a religion of works. And the government and the 3 of them work together, right? The devil and the idea of you saving yourself in some way, or pressure from some sort of anti-Christian government. So they're all allies. They're all working together. And so this beast here is one of those 2. Pastor Brown, your pen is pointed.
Well, they had the mark of the beast. So does that indicate that this is the beast on the earth?
Yes, that's the understanding, which would be
False religions, man-made religions.
the religion of not relying on Christ, but a religion of, in some way, depending on yourself. Work righteous religion. So sores on those who worship the beast, or were led down that path. Okay? I think we've identified that. Second wall. What was the second wall? Very similar here to the second trumpet. Blood of the seas. Yeah, of the seas. So the sea turns to blood, and what happens? Good. Every living thing in the sea dies. Again, this is what I mentioned with Pastor Brown's question before. Here's where we have a little, not disagreement, but kind of different understanding of interpretation. There are some who look at this, again, good, conservative, Bible-believing scholars who look at this and say, well, this is talking about a physical thing. This is a physical punishment in some way upon the earth, and it's going to affect everyone, and everyone's going to suffer. There are others who look at this and say, this is really in context talking about unbelievers. Because you look at it, it doesn't mention it here, but goal number 1 is directed against unbelief, right? And I think goals 4 and 5, I don't remember without looking here, but I think goal 5 definitely talks about those caught in unbelief. So others look at this and say, this is really a spiritual thing, spiritual problems that are afflictions by God on unbelief. Okay? So, we kind of have to interpret what it's talking about. What would the symbolism maybe of the sea turning to blood, circulating thing, and the sea dies? Well, we've had the picture of water before, and what does water generally stand for? Yeah, remember, what is coming out from the throne of God in heaven is a river coming out. So it's life. And if we talk about the sea turning to blood here, maybe the imagery is that rather than life, it's the opposite. It's a punishment because they're relying not on Christ, which is good water, but it's become polluted, and spiritually they die. So that's another valid, I think, interpretation. James is going, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, what are you getting at there? Well, the sea is salt water. We drink salt water. That would make more sense for the next book.
Yeah.
It's like fresh water where you actually want to drink it.
And maybe it's just saying, but every living thing. So there's a lot of living stuff there, and I think that's the picture. Yeah, we don't drink it, but there's a lot of living stuff, and all the living stuff dies. So basically it comes down to this. Either you understand that all water will be unfit to drink. That's going to be one of the things that's going to happen. Or, spiritually, those who are in unbelief are going to experience, the problems of rejecting Jesus, and that is,
I would look at that in a different way.
Go ahead.
I would look at that in a way as far as the seed provides a way to feed you and nourish you. So all of the opportunities for unbelievers lose their ability to feed.
Yeah, because and what does it all end in?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think that's what I was trying to say. You said. What's that? Yeah, I'm gonna sit down. Larry's gonna take over.
Because he makes a good point about the next goal when we talk about fresh water, that's more about refreshing and drinking for our quantity.
Yeah, and what's the bottom line? I mean, either way you take it. If you have a more literal, not literal, that's not really the right word because either way is literal. Just an understanding of it, something that's going to be seen on earth or something that's only going to be experienced spiritually. Either way, there's problems coming, and ultimately the victory is going to come through Christ. Unbelief has consequences. Okay, third goal. What's the third goal? Yeah, so we got the fresh water. Rivers and springs turn to blood as judgment on those who shed the blood of saints and prophets. So here, it is again tied into the unbelievers as far as punishment. Your judgments, they have shed the blood of your saints and prophets. So that's where that comes from. As Christ's turned blood is judgment on those who shed the blood of saints and prophets. So for a more earthly interpretation, again, would be that everybody's going to experience that to some degree. But the fresh water is going to be hungry. Or that it's spiritual punishment on those who persecute God's people. Fourth bowl is where I've got to switch here and look quick and identify. If somebody can tell us what it stands for. Okay, the scorching of the earth by the sun. So the sun scorches people who refuse to repent and glorify God. This is where I think this is one of the spots where people have a hard time saying, some commentators will say, well, that can't be true of believers. So this is a punishment that can only happen to unbelievers. Because how is the sun going to scorch people, believers, or in what sense? And they use Bible passages that talk about how God protects his people. Psalm 84:11, the Lord God is a sun and shield, is one of them. Malachi 4, the Son of Righteousness will arise with healing in his wings. 2 Peter 1:19, the light that shines in a dark place until the day dawns and the day star arises in your hearts. So there are those who say the sun is a picture of good stuff for believers more often than bad stuff. So that's kind of where folks are coming from. Pastor Brown?
Yeah, I wonder too, these judgments that come on the world that, certainly could impact believers as well. Unbelievers do a whole lot of things that bring suffering to the people of God, and we're just caught up in it. But the difference is, because our religion is of Christ and it's eternal, it's not man-made, it's not temporary, leading to death. If, as believers, we are scorched by the sun, or we, suffer this way, it still doesn't impact us. You will be put in, at Revelation 2, the devil will put somebody in prison for 10 days. Yeah, be faithful to the point of death. So there will be that suffering, and so I guess you could understand this as impacting believers, but we don't see it as a judgment against us. If we're impacted by some disaster that an unbeliever brings, we recognize that's how God's taken us home to heaven.
Yeah, and the concept of natural disasters hurting Christians is throughout Scripture, right? And Jesus talked about, what role do they play for us? It's a reason to repent, make sure that we're ready, and also remind that there is an end.
And I guess I thought too of in the book of Joshua, when Achan takes plunder from the city of Jericho, his entire family is killed. And we don't understand it mean that they all went to hell. But when Achan seemed to repent, he acknowledged that he had done that, but they suffered that judgment because of the sin committed.
Yeah.
What does it mean to refuse to repent? Now, all of us are sinners. And I don't pray to the Lord 24 hours a day. I probably should, but I don't.
So, and I think it's
Am I
showing,
using to repent by living that way?
and it's showing, in a way, God's patience, isn't it? So even though these things are happening, what does God want these people to do? Ultimately?
Repent.
He wants them to repent from their unbelief. His desire clearly is for all people to be saved. But in this instance, what happened? It didn't cause them to repent. It caused them to kind of dig into their unbelief. It was kind of like, you think of Jesus when he healed Lazarus. A lot of the religious leaders, what was the outcome of Jesus healing Lazarus? For a lot of them, they said, we got to kill him fast because this is getting out of hand. Yeah, people are going to believe in him. So rather than saying, he just healed a man who was dead for 4 days, I might need to consider my ways and what I believe. To turn them against Jesus all, right? And so, yeah, God's desire here is for people to repent, but that's not what is what it's saying. Now, as a believer, we are ready to repent.
Yes.
You know, that's what we do. We recognize we are sinful people, but we're also saved by the blood of Christ who's been shed. So that's our confidence. Okay, and they're scorched because something that's intended for good, the sun, becomes a curse for them, right? And Paul talks about that in 2 Corinthians. You know, the gospel to a believer is a fragrant smell, you know, something that smells great. And he says in 2 Corinthians, for an unbeliever, what is it? Yeah, just think of that. You know, think of roadkill rotting. And so it's the same message. But for one, it's the most beautiful thing. The other, it is stench. Okay, good. Fifth bowl is, how is that described? How is that explained? Okay, you've got the throne of the beast plunged into darkness. And how do we understand that? The throne of the beast is plunged into darkness. Well,
Really, that means that the unbelievers on the last day are going to be not going to heaven. They're going to enjoy the opposite.
okay, yeah, and the symbolism of darkness
Would be,
yeah, unbelief, separation from God, being without, you know, maybe even a progression. And at least in the fourth bowl there was the sun, which is a blessing for everyone, whether people see it or not. But here, plunged into darkness. So maybe, yeah, just despair. There is no hope. So there's not a further explanation there. The throne of the beast plunged into darkness, kind of just lost in that despair of Pastor Brown.
So we're going to say this is the same as the fifth trumpet.
Fifth trumpet was the darkening of the moon, right?
And that was the opening of the
The
pit,
fifth was it when
the
the
locust.
locust came out.
Okay. Well, that was the fifth.
So is it, so if it's the same thing, you know, so in the devil is always attacking, but here, I mean, the idea is they do that, but yet they're still gnawing their tongues in agony, because even as they fight against God and look powerful and look menacing, they realize they're done.
And it might even be just an internal struggle. Yeah. You know, we've talked about that before, just the futility of knowing that I can ever be good enough for God.
And then they maybe don't even realize it. They have this in their mind, but we know what really is happening.
And you think of Luther all the time, before he understood the gospel and after he understood the gospel, and how he was super monk. He did everything. Nobody prayed harder, nobody got a cleaner room, nobody fasted longer. He beat himself up, and how to make him feel more and more guilty, because he realized whatever he did, it didn't change the fact that he was a sinful human being. And the more I watched the filthy right became, he said, the more I followed that pursuit of works, the worse he felt, because it didn't change him. Dan.
The fourth bowl and the fifth bowl there, the phrase that sticks out most of my head was that they cursed God and refused to repent. I mean, how are you gonna get away with that?
Yeah, and you're not. Right, and they're kind of hardened in their unbelief.
So they're actually going to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah. Or in darkness.
Yeah.
Was there smoke? Was that the picture of darkness in that trumpet? I forget. From trumpet to bowl.
Yeah. That creates smoke around goes from the furnace and the sun has gotten darkened by the smoke.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it obscured the darkness. Okay. Good, and I think that's fine that we chew on some of this stuff and go, I think it's this, and that seems to be the picture, and that's okay. Because essentially that's what the book of Revelation is about. Not that there aren't answers, but it's very symbolic. And I always wonder, as John wrote this stuff down and saw it, did he immediately get it? Or did he have to think about it and go, and maybe he just knew as it was revealed, but.
So that, now they're starting to see.
Yeah, we find darkness soothing at night sometimes when we go to sleep and so in that instance, but think about the plagues in Egypt. They seem to get worse and worse and worse, and I think plague number 9 was darkness.
Yes.
Right before the plague of the firstborn, death of the firstborn. So maybe darkness during the day is what would make you despair and say, hey, this is not right. Things are messed up. Yeah.
Maybe I forgot something here, but in verse 7,
Yeah.
it says, and I heard the altar respond.
The voice
Is
you
the
all
altar a piece of furniture like we know it?
Yeah, and that would be figure speech, right? So it would be somebody from the altar or a voice from the altar. The altar wasn't talking, right? And so what is that voice is a good question. Earlier, who was speaking from the altar?
Martyrs.
And there were the martyrs underneath the altar. Wasn't there an angel proclaiming from the altar too earlier? I didn't really focus on that. That's a fair question.
Says the 16th, verse, chapter 9, verse 13.
9:13 was at the altar.
So that angel speaks and says to release the 4 angels that have been chained at the river Euphrates, and release them too.
Oh, yeah. And that's good because that's what we're going to see in the 6th bowl. So for now, I think maybe that's an angel.
Yeah.
We'll go with. Sometimes you lose your flow after going through it, but without digging in it too deeply. Okay, let's finish this chapter then. I think we're to that point. So what events do the first 5 bowls portray? Here's pictures of everything. So here's sores on people suffering. We've got the sea turned to blood. We've got fresh water. So there's a little creek there, and she's trying to get water, and there's nothing to drink. Here we've got the sun causing people to despair and stuck in doom and gloom. What do they all portray? They perish because they refuse to love the truth and so be saved. The reason God sends them a powerful delusion so that they will believe the lie and so that all will be condemned who have not believed the truth but have delighted in wickedness. Finally, there is a punishment for unbelief, right? God punishes unbelief for those who have rejected gospel. Because they refuse to love the truth, and so be saved. So that's what happens when one rejects the word of God, if we kind of understand it in that spiritual sense. It becomes a curse to them. God's word, which is intended to be a blessing, becomes a curse. Anything else through verse 11? Let's take the end then, 12 to 21. Here we get to the 6th and 7th bowls of the Battle of Armageddon. Who wants to read 12 through 16? 12 to 16? Larry, thank you. I'm looking for anyone. I can read too, but I'm talking to them. 17 through 21. Who wants that? Joe's going to take that. So Larry through 16, and then Joe to the end.
The sixth angel poured out his bowl in the great river Euphrates. Its waters dried up, prepared the way for the kings from the east. Then I saw 3 evil spirits that looked like frogs. They came out of the mountain of the dragon, out of the mountain of the beast, and out of the mountain called frog. They are spirits of demons performing miraculous signs, and they go out to the kings of the whole world, gather them for the battle on the great day of God Almighty. Behold, I come like a thief. Blessed is he who stays awake and keeps his clothes with him, so that he may not go naked and be shamefully exposed. Then they gathered the kings together to the place that in Hebrew is called Armageddon.
Armageddon. Joe?
The 7th angel poured out his bowl into the air, and out of the temple came a loud voice from the throne saying, "It is done." Then there came flashes of lightning, rumblings, peals of thunder, and a severe earthquake. No earthquake like it has ever occurred since man has been on earth. So tremendous was the quake. The great city split into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations collapsed. God remembered Babylon the Great and gave her a cup filled with the wine of the fury of his wrath. Every island fled away, and the mountains could not be found. From the sky, huge hailstones of about 100 pounds each fell upon men, and they cursed God on account of the plague of hail, because the plague was so terrible.
Thank you. All right, 2 more bowls, 2 interesting pictures. 6th bowl brings kings from the east and what? Yeah. How do we understand the kings from the east, first of all? Why not kings from the south, west? Good. Most of Israel's enemies throughout the Old Testament come from the east. So east kind of becomes synonymous with the bad guys, enemies of God, enemies of God's people. So good. That's the significance there. And the frogs. Why frogs? And you can't see these pictures very well, but you've got the 3 bad guys with frogs all coming out of the mouths. Why frogs? Any guesses? Swallow things up in one bite. Sounds good.
Is that not one of the plagues that they were able to like?
Okay, yeah, there's a plague. So this picture of the bowls and the trumpets seems to really kind of be drawn upon the plagues in Egypt. The frogs were everywhere. They covered everything. That might be a picture of it too. Sometimes people point to the fact that on the list of food you could eat in the Old Testament, were frogs edible, or on the good list or the bad list? They're on the bad list, right? They were something, they were no frog legs. They were an unclean food, so that's significance. People maybe look at maybe the river, they're crossing the river, right? So out of the water, something that at times can be plague-like on their own. When they go out of control and maybe in people's association with something that's uncontrolled. Okay, yeah, there's some toxic guys and some bad guys. So that will release these false prophets who spur on the enemies of God's people. Why do we jump to that? Well, it's coming out of the mouths of the dragon, which is Satan, and the beast of the sea,
And the beast of the
and the false prophet, which we already identified with the false teaching, so that would be the beast of the earth. So it's back to the three bad guys, right? And so it's that message which is coming out, which maybe is pervasive and it's unclean, seems to be the significance. Agree or disagree? According to this, Armageddon, you've got your map, is the place where the final showdown between God and the forces of evil will take place. On your map, you have Megiddo, right? And Megiddo, you see where it's located on the, this is an older towns in the Old Testament. Jerusalem's not even around there. It's near Bethel and Salem. Actually, Salem would be Jerusalem. So Megiddo. Are we talking about the location where the final showdown is going to take place?
Well, it sounds that way, but I thought when the word came on the final day, it was gonna be the whole earth. Just one place, something like that.
Those who are in the millennial camp, the pre-millennialists, the post-millennialists, make a big deal of this is the place. This is the final showdown. It is in Israel. And you've got one example here. And somebody has drawn a map. So what are they saying? Here's Israel. And you've got people coming from Africa. You've got people coming from Asia. You've got your India, China, Russia. You've got Europe. And they're all pointing to one little spot, and that's where the final war on earth, Armageddon, is going to take place. Well, it kind of goes outside the picture of everything we've been looking at in Revelation, where we've got these symbolism. So let's look at some of the possibilities. There's your epicenter for Armageddon. Just historically, if you look at this map, here's Megiddo right here. The road that went from Europe, from Egypt, all the way up into Turkey, modern-day Turkey, went right through Megiddo. Because it was mountainous here, and there's a little pass, and that's what this is. Here's the pass at Megiddo, going through these mountains. You see what's at the base is the Jezreel Valley. Super fertile, a lot of crops. So it's a valued place historically, absolutely. There's a mountain path, that road, and a great place for growing things. There are three mountains you can see in the distance from Megiddo. Off this way, you can't even see it on the map, is Mount Carmel, but you've got Mount Tabor, the hill of Moreh, and Mount Gilboa, not visible on here, but it's visible on the slide. Here's your Old Testament quizzes for the day, real quickly. What happened at Mount Gilboa? Any memory? That's where Saul died. Saul died there? Good. I'll take your word for it. Anything else, Mount Gilboa? Mount Gilboa, I had to look it up. This is where Gideon gathered his army to fight against the Midianites. So they were gathered at Mount Gilboa, and he started with 32,000, was it? Something like that. 32,000. And he reduced it down to how many? 300. How did he reduce? By the way they drink water. Here's Ayin Herod, the spring of Herod. It's a relatively small spring that you see here. And this is also another picture. Basically a stream of Ayin Herod. And that is at the base of Mount Gilboa. What else? Mount Moreh was the mountain where the Midianites gathered before the fight against Gideon. So you've got these historical places. Mount Tabor. Yeah, another Old Testament Bible history question. Any clue what happened at Mount Tabor? Again, I had to look it up. I was just thinking we might get lucky. Mount Tabor was where the Israelites fought against the Canaanites, and the Canaanites had iron chariots, right? So you had Deborah and Barak going to battle against the Canaanites. Like Gideon, so Gideon, you had 300 versus, I think it was 135,000 Midianites. Here you've got the children of Israel against the 900 iron chariots of the Canaanites, and God delivered his people. And finally, what happened at Mount Carmel? Elijah, and his showdown with the prophets of Baal. So there were two altars. The Baal worshippers tried to call down fire. Elijah not only called down fire, but first he soaked everything and dug a pit around it and covered everything with water. God consumed everything. And again, a great victory. One prophet of God against 450 prophets of Baal. The summit of Mount Carmel today has a little temple up there to remember victory. And there's a statue there too, Elijah against the prophets of Baal. So, what do all those historical places around Megiddo have in common? What is the theme that we might use to connect all those sites? There were battles, and not only battles, but okay, good. Against all odds, God delivered his people. I would say that is the symbolism here of Armageddon. God's people, things can look terrible, we can look weak, we can look vulnerable, but in the end, God's deliverance. What we started with, the Song of Moses and the Song of the Lamb, a similar theme between the two chapters. So, here's our answer. Armageddon, symbolic of the ongoing battle of Satan's forces against God's people. As the end draws near, the battle will get more intense, and for a little while it will seem as if evil will win. In the end, though, you've heard this before, victory will be God's and ours. So that is bowl number 6. We've got 3 minutes left for bowl number 7. So battle of Satan's forces against God's people. How do we know we're going to win? What happens in bowl number 7? It is done. Who do you suppose speaks that? Yeah. God speaks. It is done. It is finished. There's lightning, severe earthquake, the great hailstorm, the 100-pound hailstorms. This was an earlier picture in Revelation. Thunder seems to be a theme when God speaks and God acts. So it's not necessarily bad and scary, but it is powerful. I woke up a couple nights ago at 3 in the morning from thunder. And thunder and lightning, you know, one of those where it's like right on top of your house at the same time, the flash of light and the sound. Power. Sometimes scary. Power. What happens? Is there a tremendous battle and the Christians come up with a victory? What really happens with the 7th bowl there?
Here's what I had. Go ahead and see the. There was a lot of voices that came from the throne.
Yeah, it's almost a picture is what? Before that can even really take place, God says, done. It's done. Time has come. Judgment day has arrived. Seems to be the picture. And it's secure. We know the answer. The 3 parts, the city breaking in 3, God's doing, you know, the number of God for the sake of time here. So it's over before the battle even starts. The only one thing I wanted to talk about yet we have 1 minute, is the close. And that was in, did you catch that in verse 15? Behold, I come like a thief, blessed is he who stays awake and keeps his clothes with him, so that he may not go naked and be shamefully exposed. What's that talking about? So we fall asleep and our clothes get stolen from us. What clothes?
White robe.
Good. Robes of righteousness, robes of forgiveness. Edersheim was a Jewish historian who became Christian. He tells the story that according to Jewish tradition, part of the job of the priest was to stay on guard all through the night. And the punishment if you fell asleep, it sounds like a prank almost, but I guess he called it punishment. They would light the guy's robe on fire. So there may be some imagery there too. So Pastor Brown, if you fall asleep during my sermon, you may lose your robe. This is fiery. All right, then the Hallelujah chorus is playing at the end here. That's what the noise is. Because again, the victory is ours. All right, thank you everyone. Appreciate your thoughts and questions. We will close with prayer.
Before we start.
Yes.
James.
Yes. Yes. I can't think of her name. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, David and Debbie Winters, their niece was killed Saturday or Sunday morning. Sunday morning down in Florida, just a careless driver. They went through a red light. We keep them in our prayers as well. Dear Lord God, we thank you for the blessing of being in your word again tonight and all the reminders as we look at our world and we see so many temptations that we go through. It seems so many obstacles to our faith, so many obstacles to your gospel, so many people turning away from the truth. What a comfort it is to know that you still reign. All things are under your control and in your hands. And we thank you for that blessing of faith that you granted to us, the hope that we have through Jesus, our conquering hero. We also ask for your blessing and comfort upon those who mourn the death of young Jessica. We don't always understand why you allow these things to take place, but we trust your judgments and we place our hope in you. We pray that you would grant your comfort and peace to the family and everybody who mourns the loss of Jessica. Be with them in the days ahead. Continue to assure them of your gospel truth, that all things work for the good of your people, and that there is a purpose and there is a plan, whether we see it or not. We ask that you grant that blessing to Winters and all who mourn Jessica's loss. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you.